And now we are live. Hello, everybody. So thanks for coming to join us. So right now, I'm going to introduce my friend. So earlier we talked, not say earlier, I shared this post about, I'm going to introduce my friend here. We've known each other for a very long time. So, but before we go there, let's do this. Very quick intro. There we go. Okay, so who is joining me today is my friend here, Ihan. So his name is Ethan Ling Ihan. So but I call him Ihan because I know him for so long. So for the 4 guys and the 4 people who are tuning in, please say hi. Drop a comment there in the comment box so they can show so I can see that you are here to watch with us live. So this show will just take probably an hour or lesser than that, right? For the 6 people, thanks for joining in. Hi. So this is my friend here, is the author of The Mind Reader. You can see the 2 books that's beside him, right? This is surrounded by the book beside him. He on his website, he's actually a person who actually wants to empower, equip people, salespeople of all industries with the right skills to succeed in their career and business. So today I'm going to be having a chat with him, and we're going to find out a little bit more about The Mind Reader. We're going to find out how can we use profiling as a way to discover someone's personality, right? And find out, how can we quickly get to understand this person, and perhaps also to find out how can we make use of this knowledge to be able to sell the stuff that we want to sell, or maybe just to get to know and communicate our concepts better, because sales comes in all kinds of forms, right, bro?
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. So let me introduce Ethan. This is Ihan. So bro, okay, can you introduce yourself a little bit, share my friends here a little bit, those who are watching, and what's been keeping you busy?
Okay, so ever since the circuit breaker, I think for myself, because I'm in the corporate training space, so I've been busy trying to take my programs online and trying to adapt my business to start doing online trainings as well. So I just did one yesterday with a client, and it was pretty good. But I think I've been very busy trying to adapt and adjust, and I've run a few businesses, so all of them to adjust online. So yeah, that's what been keeping me busy, and surprisingly, I thought circuit breaker would be more free and we're not staying at home, but no, it's not. I'm getting even busier than usual. Yeah, so yeah, that's what's going on for me. But okay, things are still pretty okay for me. Also good for me because I don't have overheads as a training company, so I don't face the pressure that some of the businesses like the F&B or them are facing. So I think there's much less pressure compared to some of these my fellow entrepreneurs or business people who are really struggling, I would say. So thank God for that. Yeah, but pretty much that's what I'm busy with. Yeah,
that's great, man. So I think this is the kind of work from home kind of style. You're finding out this works because there's no overhead, right? The only overhead is the roof that you have over, right? So okay, bro, so maybe you can share a little bit with my friends here, okay, or maybe even just for myself, because even though I've known you for so long, and but I haven't actually find out a lot about what is this thing called personality profiling. So what is personality profiling? And there's a lot of tools online. There's like DISC, there's MBTI, there's I don't know. So there's so many that sometimes it's very hard to describe. So can you share a little bit more about what is personality profiling?
Okay, so personality profiling, ultimately, it's a way of categorizing people. I would like to liken it to, like, for example, let's say we get a health checkup, right? And then we get a health profile per se. So a health profile is like, okay, so what's your BMI? Are you obese? Are you just nice? Are you underweight, severely underweight? So a health profile, right, categorizes you into certain categories But so in the same way, a personality profiling does the same thing. It profiles you based on a certain set of criteria into certain categories. So why are there so many instruments out there, like as you mentioned, DISC, MBTI, Enneagram, and all that? Because each of them use different criteria to categorize a person, right? So personality profiling can be a very broad term in the sense there are many aspects of profiling, but if you want to be really accurate, it's not just personality profiling, it's traits profiling, it's behavioral profiling, and all of them fall under the broad category of personality profiling. If you really want to be like, go down to the nuances, what's the difference between personality and behavior and traits, and temperament, and there are many ways of describing it. But for most people, I think understanding it at this level, personality profiling is just a way of categorizing people's psychological type, how they think, how they behave, how they act as well. Yeah.
So to add on to that, right, why is it a good thing to have this tool at your disposal? Because personality profiling, as you mentioned, that is it can be personality, it can be some differences that we have. But why do you think such a good thing to know and to have this at your disposal?
Okay, so well, I mean, I want to going back to the same analogy about health profiling. You know, when we understand that, let's say our BMI, we are a bit overweight. So what we do is that we will start taking action to, we know that okay, that's not optimal. Okay, let me do something about it. So what profiling does is really give you insight into yourself and give you insight into other people as well. So what that does it can give you a lot of new understanding about maybe, for example, what you should do, what you shouldn't do, what your strengths, natural strengths are, what your natural weaknesses are. It gives you all these insights about yourself and about other people that you can probably leverage on or use for various contexts. Maybe it's for choosing a career, maybe it's about leading them, maybe it's about selling to them, maybe it's about person-to-person relationship, maybe even for couples as well. So that's what this usefulness is for. Yeah.
Okay. But when it comes to like profiling, from what I understand, there are sometimes, this test, when you're taking a test like this, those online, there's all this profiling tests. Sometimes you want to be one kind, but if sometimes you are not something like that in a natural environment. So how with what profile people think they are versus what profile they really are, how can you really determine that?
It's very funny. Like most people would go online and do this test and say, oh, I'm this type, right? And then so when I do training, sometimes they will insist that they are a certain type as well. But for me, who is somebody who has done a lot of students, met a lot of students and talked to them about this, I mean, I've seen enough to know roughly what type. I'm usually quite accurate. I've rarely been wrong about a person's type, but sometimes people do insist that, oh, they are this type, they're this type. Well, I like to liken it to the same thing again. So like, for example, when somebody, let's say somebody self-diagnose, for the same thing, right? Self-diagnose, I did this test, or I checked Google says headache, and this pain means that I have cancer, they say things like that. So they basically make a self-diagnosis in the same way, in some way. So so is self-diagnosis often wrong or right? There's no wrong or right answer, but the idea is that unless you are somebody who's certified or somebody who knows how to administer the test, right, you may not get a very accurate assessment of yourself because you are not so aware of the theory behind the test as well. So I think for many people, I would say that if you will go in and do a profile and keep an open mind, you may not be accurate as well. Some people, I mean a lot of people who insist they are introverts when it's obvious they are extroverts, or people who are extroverts that insist they are introverts. So many of them, right? So I think the key is it's often very it's like you trying to administer when you feel pain in certain parts of your body, trying to administer yourself, oh, I think I have this issue, that issue. It's the same thing. You often, I think, to be sure, you will probably need an expert opinion. And in the case of personality profiling, I would like to say that people around you tend to give a better assessment of you than yourself, because how do we assess ourselves? We often look inside, right? We look inside ourselves to try to find answers like, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. But actually, people around you can see clearly because they have other people to compare you with, right? They will look at you and say, no, among all my 200 friends, you are definitely very extroverted. They can say things like that. So they can have a more, I would say, objective way of looking at it rather than you just looking inside yourself and think,
So is that a reason, or because, like, for example, what do you call that? A natural personality versus during a situation where they have to be functional, like for example when they're at work or when they're at a job, and then when they revert back to themselves, they become a different kind of personality profile. Is
okay. Okay, so this is where we come to the nuance of what personality is. So personality by definition studies the nature of a person, how the person is wired to be, and how the person was designed. In a sense that they were born with it. So this is basically the you were what you call nature argument, right? But the other part you were describing that people change, and all that, that's behavior, right? Behavior is often a function of nurture and also a function of choice, right? We can always change our behavior according to the circumstance. Like for example, if I'm an introvert, you're an introvert, we're in a networking meeting, what do? We engage people.
No.
Yeah.
Introverts, we kind of go blend into the wall if we can,
Yeah, of course. So that you see, what you mentioned is a preference. You prefer, if you can, to blend into the wall, and that is got to do with your personality, your preference, But your ultimate behavior, ultimately, when I see you, you are very extroverted. You talk to people, you connect with people, and that's a function of your behavior, your choice. You make a choice, and that's your behavior. So we have to distinguish this when we do profiling. Like, what's part of your behavior and what's your preference? So that's why we call personality preferences. So you just told me your preference. Your preference is to blend into the world, which is a more introverted thing to do, right? So if I would ask you, what is your type? You would say the scientifically correct way of saying it is you prefer introversion, over extroversion. It's not to say you're an introvert. Actually, it's not correct to say somebody's an introvert. It's rather correct to say somebody prefers introversion, for example. Yeah. So hopefully that answers the question.
Okay. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. So anyway, for the people who are watching again, just feel free to leave any comments or just say hi, or maybe drop a question anywhere. So anytime you have any questions, feel free to join in the conversation with us. Okay. So another question that I have over here is, like when it comes to the personalities that we have, what are the big common clues which can hint to what kind of personality they are?
Okay. So, I wrote this book called The Mind Reader. You can see behind me, the orange book. I'll tell you later how you guys can get it. But I teach salespeople actually how to profile their customers or clients very quickly just by looking at a few clues. So I look out for a few things. I teach people how to look out for a few things that help you give you very intelligent clues about what this person's type is likely to be. Right, that's very helpful because it will teach you how to communicate with this person. So what are the common clues that hint to you? I created a framework for it. It's called MOLD, M-O-L-D, M-O-L-D, right? Motivation, occupation, language, and dressing. So I look out for these four things: motivation, occupation, language, dressing. Let me explain. So for motivation, right? Why a person does something is much more important than what they did. So you often when they say they like a movie, for example, yesterday I just mind read a director on screen with 27 other people watching on. I just asked him. He said, "Oh, I asked him what movies do you like." He said he's been watching Netflix. So I follow up the question. So what movies do you like? He said, "Oh, I like Vagabond. I like the Godfather." By the way, I never watched Vagabond. I've never watched Godfather. So I asked him so what about those movies interest you? So he said, "Oh, I like the fact that there's mystery involved, and I'm trying to figure out who the culprit is." So that already gave me a clue about why he wanted to watch that movie, and that was more important than the movie itself. I still didn't know what Vagabond was at the end, but that gave me a clue, and I told him, "You're this type." Okay, so that's the motivation. So whenever I mind read somebody, I always try to find out why they are doing certain things, why they choose a job, why they maybe take a certain action, why they choose a certain hobby, for example. So all these things, the motivation behind all these things will give me a very big clue. The other one is occupation. So your occupation is it's a very big clue too, because you are choosing it. I'm going to assume that most people will choose a career that is similar to close to what they like. Okay, that's not always true. Of course, we choose occupations for for salary. We choose them for location, all kinds of reasons. But most people who stay in their job, right, most people often eventually find a fit for themselves. And how do I know if they fit? I just ask them also, what do you like about your job? What do you not like about your job? And even that goes back to the motivation. Then I can see already, okay, you like this job because it's flexible. Okay, got it, right? So occupation is number 2. Number 3 is a language. This one is really difficult to explain, but there's 2 types of language. Number 1 is sensory language. Means they talk about details, they talk about the past, they talk about their experiences, things that are real. So things like that, they can express, and they're more step-by-step in their explanations of things. The other one is more conceptual. Like you and me, we're more conceptual. We like to talk about the future. We like to talk about the big picture. We like to talk about ideas, abstract ideas, theories, and all that. So this is the other type. So when I listen to somebody talk, I can suss out whether they are more conceptual or more conceptual or more sensory in their description of things. Right, that's the third. And the last one is their dressing. Okay, how they dress, what they carry on themselves will give me a very big clue as well. So looking at these 4 factors, I often can read somebody in about a minute or so. I can roughly gauge their type already. But of course, if I want to confirm, I just have a short 2-minute conversation with them, I'll know exactly which type they are. Yeah.
So wouldn't it be tough if, let's say, in a situation where there's a uniform and everybody dresses the same? Wouldn't that be hard?
Well, the other things you can watch out for example, even in uniform, you can look at their hair. Hair, is it neat or not? You look at their glasses. Your glasses are unique. You are fall in a certain category already, right? You can wear a uniform and still wear those glasses, right?
That's true.
Their shoes, are they shined? Are they shine, or are they like a bit scruffy? You know, and their uniform, is it very well pressed, or is it what do you call it, crumpled in some parts as well? All these small little things can give you a clue enough already. So even people who wear uniform, you can see it. Yeah.
Okay, very interesting. So anyway, you want to say hi to Felicia, yeah, and William. So I think you remember William. So remember William is spelled by Ashley. Yes.
Why do you call you Ashley?
I don't know. That's my alter ego. All right. So yeah. So thanks for joining us again. Any questions, guys? Just pop it in, and we'll just show you on screen with your questions if you have any. Right. So okay. So when it comes to understanding personality, understanding different people, something which I feel is very important, even though we're going pretty fast into the questions we have. So like, for example, this question is something I feel very important. Like, profiling can be used to attack or can be used to defend. So what I mean by that is that, when it comes to this day and age that we live in, especially now, everybody is online. Pretty much everybody is now online because they can't do anything outside, so they're online. So there are stuff that when they try to sell, right? Or some of them don't have the best intentions at heart. Some of them just want to sell the best that they can. They make a lot of money. So that's what they do. Okay. And then there are those who have the intention to really want to help you, but they don't know how to express that concern, right? To make sure that they're giving you the best value. So when it comes to this profiling, the reason I'm asking this is how can we identify, right, a way to protect ourselves if we know that we are being manipulated or being identified, and they're trying to get us to buy the stuff that they want to, even though it's not something that will be beneficial for us.
Okay. This is a very big question. I will try to answer it part by part. So hopefully the part by part will help you break down yourself as well.
Okay.
Yeah. So profiling can be used to attack. I think generally, I would say attack is quite a strong connotation that you are trying to get a one-up over somebody. In a sense, it does give you a one-up because you understand the psychology of the other person if you were be able to accurately profile somebody. But personally, I like to think of it as a tool for communication and understanding, right? But just when I teach you people profiling, right, I can say all kinds of things like attack, things like, you can touch the hot buttons and all that. But ultimately, what it really I'm teaching you is how do you empathize with that person sitting across you. How do you really understand what's going on in your mind? What are they really concerned about? So can it be used to manipulate? You can. It's a personality profiling is a tool. Well, like a tool, a tool is, it could be a gun, for example, is a tool. A gun can be used to save and can be used to hurt. A knife can be used to save, can be used to hurt. So it's a tool. It's a neutral thing. It's not bad or good. It is what it is. It is a tool, right? So if you think of it like that, it's a neutral thing, right? So it can be used as a tool for understanding, and that's what I hope that people will use it for, and not to use it to manipulate others, lah. All right. So let me think. Okay, so when it comes to defending as well, I can share like there are only a few types of people that will scam you per se. There's two types only. There are 4 types of personality that I teach. There are 2 main types that are more likely to scam you than other types. All right. So if I know that I'm dealing with such people, for example, maybe just share. I usually don't like to share this because I don't want anybody to feel offended or anything. But
we're just doing a case scenario, imaginary case scenario. So it's okay.
Yeah. So I think. Let me just give one type. Okay, but this type of person is the more easygoing, more tactical kind of guy, like a bit, a bit upping kind one. This type they talk also in very simple language, and so these types are the very you call them used car salespeople. In the bad side of these people can be a used car sales. I'm not saying all they are bad. I'm just saying the bad side of these type of people are like the used car salespeople kind of people, where they will just tell you all the best stuff and tell you all the good stuff and all that, and just avoid all the details that will cause you to to make a different decision, and the bad ones to stoop to lying as well, in a sense lah. So these types we have to watch out. So this is how they talk. They talk fast. They seek to charm you. A lot of them are a number of them are in the seminar speaking industry. I can see them when I see them lah. So so these are the first type of people, right? That they are likely to, in a sense, scam you. The other types are the very brilliant ones. They're the brilliant people that can draw up beautiful plans, make everything look perfect and unique and special. And perhaps I would say when in the crypto craze of 2017, we had a lot of such guys. You know, they use technical terms like blockchain, like initial coin offering. They say use the second layer, third layer. They say all these terms, right? And people who listen are just confused and at the same time fascinated by the language they use, right? So because of that, they say, you know what, I want to buy. So there's really two ways to in a sense, you talk about scam, these two key ways to scam people. It's not to say the other two types won't do it. The other one type, for example, is a very follower type, more of a, if the boss says like that, I'll say it. So if the boss is like evil in a sense, they are going to do this. They are going to perpetuate it. Yeah, perpetuate the evil. And then the other type is the bad side, is the Hitler type. They will use. They are very powerful with their words and ideas as well, so they can sway mind thought as well. I know that sounds a bit confusing, but I don't want to go into the 4 types as well. But
okay,
so you can talk about the main types. The main ways people can scam you is probably the first 2 types. I would say, yeah. Typically, I see more of it in modern day corporate life, corporate world. Yeah.
Okay. So, like, because since you mentioned about Hitler, right? So Hitler is one case study I think we can actually talk about. So, if someone like Hitler, how would you, if you were to describe him in a personality profile, how would you profile someone like Hitler?
Oh, Hitler has been profiled with the MBTI, and also with my system. He is actually profiled as the healer type, or the INFJ. This type is actually, surprisingly, they're very compassionate people. The neutral people, they are very compassionate. They are very, a lot of my good friends are this type as well. They are compassionate. They are very insightful into human nature. They are very fast to understand people and very fast to empathize with people. But when you turn that, how does it turn evil? It's, I think, in a way, Hitler, he had a very strong belief, and so this type of people are very stubborn when it comes to what they believe. They are often not open to alternative ideas, at least not initially. So they can be rather stubborn when it comes to ideas as well. So maybe for Hitler, I mean, I don't know, I don't really read as much into it as well, but Hitler maybe strongly believed in, let's say, certain truths. For example, maybe he believed that the Jews were the one who, I think he grew up, in a Jewish family as well. Maybe he believed that the Jews undermined him and his people, and he wanted to fight for the middle class. That's why his country turned socialist, in a sense. So that's how such a compassionate or such an understanding person could be turned evil in a sense, because he believed he was fighting for his people. But of course, at the expense of the people who he deemed as evil. So INFJs or healer types can be rather extreme in the sense that they can be rather extreme in their points of view. If they get too idealistic. Yeah.
Okay, so this even since we're talking a little bit about, we can do a little bit of comparison, right? For the heck of it, Trump. I know I'm not intentionally putting Trump and Hitler on the same level, but if you're talking a little bit about the personality profiling of someone like Trump, right? How would you classify someone like him?
Well, Trump is an explorer type. Explorer type is or I can say is an ESTP, extrovert, sensing, thinking, perceiving. So let me try to think of parallels that you can play with. He's the cowboy type, he's a doer. He is not a talker, if you can see, obviously. He is not a good speaker. And ESTPs, his personality profile are usually, they are not good speakers. They are not very good with words. Yeah, they can be charming, but they are not good with words. They are their vocab is often very limited. Yeah, and that's true not just for Trump, but typically people of this type of personality. So when I looked at Trump, when I knew his personality, I knew you shouldn't judge a person like that, right, based on what they say, right? You judge them based on what they do. And Trump is a doer. And you know that whether you like him or not, Trump has implemented so many changes in the United States, the building the wall, reform, getting people back employment, moving back people from overseas to US manufacturing. So he does a lot of things very, very quickly. And this is very typical of his personality type. They are the doers, they are not the talkers. So if you look at him purely on what he says, right, he's not going to be better than Obama. Obama's a talker. Obama's personality, he talks very well. He's a very good orator, right? So when I look at Trump, I don't look at him. I don't look at what he says, because what he says, he's going to say something sometimes a bit hypnotic in a sense. Something's a bit stupid because he oversimplifies, and that's very typical of his personality. But it doesn't mean he's not a good person, you see. Yeah, so that's what I would say, lah. I mean, but people often read the news and listen to snippets of what he says, and of course the media doesn't help. They pick up the worst parts of what he says and then say, this is Trump. But if you want to judge a character, look at what they do. It's a better judge of their character than actually his talks. You will never hear the best stuff from his talks. Yeah.
Okay. So, hey, Jonathan actually has a question. So I bet it's after a back break. I'm not too sure in which what's he referring to. You have any idea? If not, maybe Jonathan, you can just add a bit more description so I can actually go into that. Any idea on this? Yeah. No. Okay. So anyway, if not, then Jonathan, if you can just feel free to describe a little bit more, and maybe I'll have Ihan explore a bit more about this question over here. All right. So with that being said, so with regards to that also, since we're also talking about a little bit about leaderships, right? How would you, know which personality needs what to be led and what they need in order to lead? What I'm referring to is, let's say we're talking on a topic of salespeople, because when it comes to mind reading or gets to knowing about people's personality, okay. Oh, wait. Before I get to that, so Jonathan was referring to when a person becomes Hitler.
But I think in general, so we need to divorce personality type from profiling, from character. Sorry, whether a person is good or bad, it's not based on personality. Yeah, it's not based on personality, and the person can be any personality and be good person, or a person can be any personality and be bad person. So it's not to say that any particular personality is evil or good, because character is character. Right, character is things like integrity, like morality. Personality is really the way they express it. So the good side of every type, there's a way of expression, and the bad side, there's a way of expression. There's different ways of triggering a person's evil side for every personality, and the expression of that often comes out differently as well. So, like I said, initially I talked about the scamming, right? The people who, use car salespeople. I've seen very good people that are of the same type, right? They're good people. They live with integrity. They do their best. Very good salespeople, but very strongly believe in family values and doing the things right. I've seen such people with the exact same personality. And then for the last one, I talk about the big ideas, the way they scam people. I've seen very good people like that as well. Many of your famous IT wizards like Elon Musk, like Mark Zuckerberg, like the founders of Google are all that last type as well. Yeah. So they can do very good in the world. They can do evil in the world. Many scientists are that type as well, because they learn to conceptualize ideas. So we have to understand the difference between personality and character. Good or bad is one thing, but the way that some personality simply tells me how this person will express the goodness or the badness, in a sense, lah. Yeah. Hope that answers the question, Jonathan. Yeah.
Thank you very much for the question, Jonathan. So, I was actually asking another question earlier, right? So, how would you know which personality needs to be led and how they need, what do they need in order to be led? What I mean by this is, let's say we're talking about the context of, let's say, a sales team, right? So, if let's say, because for what you do, you are also empowering people to grow their career, and when it comes to growing their career, perhaps if let's say someone is already in leadership position, then what do they need to? I'm not saying wants to be in the leadership position. Is there a way that he or she can communicate to his or her leader to let him or her know that what he needs to be led? And then, afterwards, when they become leaders, how can they become a better leader by utilizing personality profiling?
Okay, it's a very big question. I will try to answer part by part again. First is personality profiling is very useful in multiple contexts. Ultimately, if you were talking about the way I use it, it's primarily for persuasion, primarily to help you understand what motivates people and what makes people do certain things. So how can you use that? You can use that in many contexts. I teach it in sales. I sometimes teach it in leadership as well. I coach leaders as well who manage teams. It's very helpful. Let me just share quickly. Like I have a coachee that runs a team of 20 people. So she will come to me and say, I have a problem with this stuff. This stuff is this type. She gave me INFP, 4 types, and this stuff is has this problem with me. Okay. Just by her telling me all these things, right, I can already know what the staff is thinking. I know what they're thinking. I know what they lack, and that's why they are not motivated. And then I told this coach, okay, you just do this. Okay, just do this, and stone falls off. And she just go and did it and got the results that she wanted. And everything turned out really well. So the idea of profiling in leadership is that everybody is different. Everybody is and motivated by different things. For some people are motivated by purpose, right? They need strong purpose in what they do. They need to feel like a very strong sense of fulfillment in their work. For some people, it's just stability. They just want stability. They just want their job scope to be clear. You just tell me what I have to do. You give me certainty in my life and tell me what's my path to promotion. Then I'm happy, right? And then there's some that want flexibility. They want freedom. They don't want their boss to tell them what to do. They want to be able to have the independence to achieve the results, right? And so there's some people that enjoy this freedom that comes with a job. So personality profiling comes in leadership, right? When a leader needs to recognize the different types of people they are leading. Right? And then different styles that they need to learn in order to coach different types of people. And it also helps you predict the kind of challenges that you will face if you have a certain type in your organization. I just give an example, the same coachee. She knows how to put people in their right places because she learns about personality. She knows that certain types are better at administration, better at implementing plans. There are certain types that are better at teaching. Certain types are better at coming up with big strategic ideas for the organization. So by putting people like like chess, that you put people in the right places, you get the best results. So it can be really powerful for leadership, especially for a leader who appreciates this and leverages on this to their advantage. And it will ultimately benefit everybody because everyone's happy. They are working in their strength zone. They are working in a place where they're happy and they are enjoying the task. And as a result, the organization grows as a whole. So if you're talking about leadership, this can be really, really powerful to use in a leadership context. Yeah, I've seen it, and I think if you recognize that organization not just a system, but it's also humans that are at work, then you can unleash that potential. A lot of business people, talk about scaling. Let's use systems. Let's use systems to scale, and we just have to do this. That works, of course. But if you want to build a dynamic organization, you have to understand this so that you can leverage on everybody's strengths and really multiply the efforts that everybody's bringing to the table. For example, I just give a simple example for you. It's like, for example, for you, Asher, if I ask you, hey, Asher, you have to do the accounts. Every day you look at numbers and all that. I can guarantee you that you will spend 5 days doing maybe 1 day's worth of effort because you hate doing it, right? Right. If I ask you, okay, Asher, I want you to come up with strategic plans, great ideas for this organization moving forward, you'd be very happy to do it, right? You'd be happy to come up with strategic plans, come up with ideas that how you can move an organization forward. And if that was your job 80% of the time, I would think you'd be very happy at your job. Yeah, and you also contribute a lot more, right? Than if I would ask the accountant type of people to take your place, So that's the idea. Yeah.
Okay. So if for what you're sharing is that when it comes to different personality profiles, right? How can people very quickly understand who he or she is talking to? Those.
Well, that goes back to the personality profiling thing, mind reading thing. You have to be able to learn there are 3 things I teach my students to learn. 3 Ds. Okay. Discover, you first have to understand the 4 personality profiles. I used to teach 16, but of course it's too much. So I just break it down to 4. So that it's easy to remember. So I teach them about 4. You have to understand the different types of personality, right? And what each of them mean and how do they think. And then the next thing I teach is, after you learn these 4, right, you are able to distinguish the different types. So you have to understand the 4 types before you can learn to distinguish them. Right? What exactly are you looking out for? What is the difference that you are searching for? And what is the meaningful difference between these people? Right? What's the meaningful difference between you and I? We're actually quite similar, but what's the meaningful difference between you and I? You need to know this, then you can distinguish. Right? That's the second, distinguish. Right? So after you learn about the 4 types, I teach them about how do you use the mole framework to distinguish people. Looking at these 4 things, how do you tell? And then the last part, the D, is deliver. How do you speak the person's language? How do you speak their language so that you can get through to them? So this is the 3D system. So I can't answer that question with a few sentences. It's a whole framework that we have to use in order to successfully profile somebody. But if I were to give a principle to it, let me just use a poker game for example. I'm sure you like poker, your personality type, right? So
I appreciate it.
Yeah. So the idea of when you watch poker game, right? I mean, I watch YouTube once in a while to see, but it's very fun because you can see how these people think, and they think about what the other person is thinking, and they try to guess whether the person is bluffing or making a real play. It's a strong hand. And one thing that distinguishes amateur poker players and professional poker players is one thing: what's their focus on? When amateur poker players play, right, they only focus on their hand. They look at what the 2 cards they have, and then they play according to that. If they have a lousy hand, they play very weakly. If they have a strong hand, they play strongly, right? Or they purposely just try to bluff, So they just focus on themselves, like what they are playing. But the professional poker players, they don't play their own hand. They play the opponent's hand. They look at what the opponent is, what's the tells, what's the opponent doing, what are they trying to, are they really weak? Have a weak hand, have a strong hand? What are they exactly doing? So the professional players, they look at their opponents and they play according to what their opponents have, right? So many times they can win a hand without even showing their cards because they know what their opponent has. So likewise, when you are profiling somebody, it means taking the focus away from yourself. Like, okay, what do I need to say? I want to say something. Even for salespeople, I want to present my product. I want to say it correctly. The focus is on yourself a lot. But the professional, the great salespeople don't focus on their product, their delivery. They focus on the prospect, or they focus on the person sitting across them, right? So they put their focus on them, and they are able to observe what a person is saying, the buying signals, the things that are not spoken, the things that are spoken. They notice all these things, and as a result, they're able to profile people, right? So profiling is the same principle. We have to observe the person, and instead of thinking about what I want to say, we think about what the person is trying to say, right? And that gives you a strong head start when it comes to profiling somebody. Yeah.
Okay, so with regards to that itself, right, because when it comes to people, when sales doesn't necessarily have to be selling something. It could be just a transference of ideas. It could be a transference of concepts that you want to bring to somebody. Now, if somebody is, I would say maybe someone who's a bit more, maybe soft-spoken, someone who is not not a salesperson, or not what they call a natural salesperson, even though I don't think there's natural salespeople, they are all trained. How would someone who is, let's say, a more quiet personality be able to make use of such tools?
Firstly, I've seen success in quiet salespeople, just as much as I've seen success with extroverted. Of course, if you ask me who has the advantage, of course, extroverts, because they do enjoy meeting people. They do enjoy, part of their energy is recharged when they meet new people and connect with new people. Whereas for introverts, it's more energy training. So if you ask me who has the advantage, extroverts do have an advantage. But if you're talking about introverted salespeople, of course, they still can do it, but it depends what they're selling. Obviously, if you're selling something reliable like insurance, it doesn't matter. Some people like reliability, and sometimes quietness and listening, having a listening ear is an advantage because you project reliability. Unless you're selling hype, you sell hype, then you'll be an extrovert better also, So what is the question again? You asked me. Yeah.
Okay, so the question is mostly about if, let's say, someone who is a very, let's say, very quiet nature, maybe is not in a sales environment. Okay, maybe I'll just put it, maybe in a scenario, not in a sales environment, but perhaps that is at home, let's say at home, and then there's a situation where maybe he's trying to convince his sibling, who is of a different personality type, of an idea. It's quite a broad question. I definitely have to admit, because it does apply quite broadly. How would understanding, because when it comes to, maybe just rephrase this entire question altogether. For when it comes to at home, the personality, how can we identify our siblings or our loved ones? Because I think while it's good to understand the people that we sell to, I also believe that as you mentioned, personality profiling, it can be a way to understand someone as well. So how can we make use of this in a home context to better communicate with our loved ones?
Oh, definitely. In fact, when I first started my training, the first workshop I did was a relationship workshop, which a lot of my cell group members attended, a lot of my friends attended. It's for relationship. Personality can be used, as you mentioned, in multiple contexts. And in fact, many of my students who attend my sales course, I tell them homework, go and profile your family, right? So they in the end, they do that, and a lot of them come back to me and say, "Oh, Ethan, I realize now I understand my son already. Now I understand why my son like that. Now I understand why my parents like that." Oh, okay. Then the result of often going through a class like that with me is that they have a greater understanding of why things have happened in a certain way, and as a result, they develop greater empathy or greater grace for people that are different from them, and they finally understand why their parents have been maybe nagging at them, or why their parents like they want, or why their kids don't want to listen to them. So they learn that, but most importantly, I've seen many parents that are salespeople, they come to my class and then they say, "Wow, then I learned how to talk to my kid already," right? So you can see. Persuasion can happen not just at a sales context, but happens at home. When you want to get a kid to do his homework or do the dishes or whatever. So it's a tool that can be used in any contexts. Of course, from a business point of view, I have to position it in some way. I have to position it for a sales context because that's where my clientele is. But if you ask me, where can I use it for? Anything in your life, really. Anything in your life. Everything that you have to do with people, you can use this. Yeah.
Okay, so even if it comes to those who are single and looking to get attached, feel the urge for a merge, that's what I like to joke about with. So they can also use personality profiling to, or maybe just spin off a little bit of the question. Are there certain personality profiles that match better with a certain personality profile?
Okay, just to talk about that, somebody actually, one of my students actually did go and use it to go and pick up girls.
Oh, okay.
He just used it as a, I taught him how to read people. So he went to the club. He told me he went to the club and then he do that to the girls and all that. Then they were so intrigued, and then they ended up talking to him a lot. I just roll my eyes. I'm like, that's not the point of this, but okay, sure, yeah. So the question you asked is, okay, so how do you use it? What personalities match with the others?
Yeah.
I wrote a book on this actually. I put it online on my website. How to build successful relationships. So I would like to theoretically, right? There is certain types that match better theoretically. How to explain? There are certain personalities that communicate better with one another, and therefore they match better as a romantic partner. So people ask, do opposites attract, or does like is the same better? Generally, if you understand the theory, right, the answer is both. Actually, it's very confusing, but it's actually both. They must be alike in their communication style, but they should be different in every other aspect, because then they complement each other. Then their differences attract. So the likes attract or the opposite attract actually is both. If you talk about the theoretical answer. But personally, I don't like to talk about which type matches better. Why? Because I don't want anybody to use this as a basis for decision for getting together with somebody or breaking up with somebody. So sometimes you want to break up somebody, you just find every excuse you can, and in this case, you use personality as an excuse, or a different personality. I don't believe in that. I believe that anybody can work things out if they have the right character. What personality profiling does really is to tell you the nature of your conflict. what are you likely going to fight over? Yeah. So when I look at you, I look at your partner, I can tell you, I just look at them and say, okay, I know what you guys are going to fight over. You're going to fight over this. I will just tell them, right? But so it depends on the combination. Every different combination has different challenges, right? So certain combinations may have less challenges because they're more similar, but it means they will have more blind spots. Yeah. For example, if there are two people like you, for example, then your household likely will be a bit more messy.
It's not going to be a bit messy, man. It's going to be complete chaos.
Yeah. Or like money won't be managed because by nature you don't manage the money cash flow so well. So budgeting, it will be an issue. See, so when both parties are too similar, there comes the problem because there are certain things in life that need to be managed no matter what. So like money, like organization of the household, like planning things, right? So there are certain decisions that if you're too similar, right, then you both have the same insight and similar insights, and you cannot offer a different perspective. So this is the problem with being too alike. Yeah.
Now, would that apply also to a business context? Let's say looking for a partner or business partner, a sales partner, so to speak. Would it be better to have someone that's similar, or would it be better to have someone that is complementary to cover up the weaknesses?
Interestingly enough, I remember sharing this with my poly students. Sharing my poly students about personality type, and I found that most of them like people that are similar to them. Yeah, but as they grow older, right, you will notice that people actually like people different from them, and that is actually a sign of maturity. Right? It's actually a sign of maturity that shows that you are beginning to appreciate people that are different from you, right? And you recognize your own weaknesses and you recognize their strengths, and that's actually a sign of maturity. So when it comes to business, right, it's actually very good to have differences in type, because then your strengths are complementary. Like maybe you're a strategic guy, then you need somebody who loves to execute, right? So you want to find somebody who love to execute. You're somebody who is you can create frameworks, for example. They need somebody to implement the frameworks. You don't like to execute the frameworks, So it's very important to recognize this difference and not judge somebody just because they're different and say, they're not good business people. No, they are not. They are actually good in a different aspect than you. If you can recognize that, then your business can be much stronger than if you would just find somebody like you. Then all the blind spots are there. I can tell you the experience that when I find people all like me are there, it's the same. We all have the same problem, so our blind spot is huge. Yeah, right. But when I find somebody very different from me, right, I find it's very refreshing because that person can do what I'm not good at, and I can do what that person is not good at. So I think hope that answers the question.
Okay. How long do you think it's like like when it comes to this understanding someone's profile? Because I believe that when you get to know somebody, it takes a little bit of time, because sometimes when the first impression, the profile or the impression they give to you may be a certain thing, but when it comes to working in the long term, they may display a slightly different kind of behavior. So when it comes to finding the right partner, when it comes to business, not in terms of relationship, it is a relationship, but in terms of business itself or sales context itself, how long do you think is a good time frame when it comes to identify someone?
Actually, how long does it take to identify someone? So, most people cannot identify they think the person changed. Actually, the person didn't change. It's rather that we didn't have the insight to know what the person was actually, right, before they started. Of course, they will put their best foot forward at the start, and a lot of people, I think you might have seen people who make very bold promises and all that and don't follow through. They are of a certain type. This certain type will always make big promises, but when it comes to execution, they are weak. And then there's another type, they don't make very good big promises. They often they are not very good at it, but when they do, they are very reliable. So it's not that the person changed. It's just that the person's nature is like that. They like to put a very strong tell you about big ideas and get you excited and all that. And then it's not that they are a bad person. It's just that they're not good executors. That's all. Yeah. So it's not that the person changed. How long do you need? If you understand personality profiling, you can recognize that immediately. You're saying, this person is like that. So I would discount it. I mean, some people like that, which I meet a lot in business, I'll discount them. I'll discount 90% of it. I'll be extremely skeptical. I'll discount almost everything they say, and then just assume that they will do 10% of what they say they will do. So if based on that, can I accept? Cannot, then don't want. So. It's not that the person changed. It's rather that we didn't have the eyes to see what this person's nature was actually like from the very beginning. Yeah.
All right, all right.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that. So we pretty much covered most of the questions we have, even though there are some other questions, but they were pretty much covered during the conversation. So, but if let's say people want to know more about you, how can they reach you over? For example, like you're just talking a little bit about the mind reader book you have behind you, right? So how can people find out a little bit more if they want to discover more?
Okay, maybe before that, we get to this, maybe just let the audience ask any questions. Like, if you want to ask any questions about your type and everything, just feel free to ask. I'll be happy to answer. We have a bit of time left, about 10 minutes.
Yeah, we do have a bit of time, about 10 more minutes. So if anybody of you have a question, and then we can have Ethan mind read you over the screen, right? So it's just going to be like, so we're just going to kind of mind read you.
Yeah, oh yeah, so I can do that also. Yeah, if somebody wants to volunteer, I don't mind.
Okay. So yeah, it'd be interesting if anybody wants to do that. We can just I can send you a link that we can just pop you in real quick. And if we do that, that'll be the first time for me as well. But if not, if just a text, I don't know whether text will actually work. Would the texting work?
No, I think prefer talking faster. Yeah.
Faster. All right. So if any
text also can. I'll just go to your Facebook profile and read you.
Okay. So if anyone has questions, please feel free to leave a comment straight up. And thanks for the people who are still watching. I appreciate you. So we have about 10 more minutes to go. Any questions? But before, I will just let the comments, or when the questions do come up, I'll bring it up on screen. But for now, right? So how can actually people get to reach you? Because you were talking a little bit about the mind reader book that you have behind you. So could you share a little bit more about what this mind reader book is? Oh, hold on. We have Shirlene. So this is Shirlene is waving over there. So okay, so Shirlene, you wanted to be the experimental. So let me just send you real quick. So while I'm doing that, bro, can you just carry on? So maybe I can just bring it on the screen.
Okay, so I thought about the mind reader book, or
yeah, the mind reader book.
Okay, so I share screen.
If you want to.
Okay, I share screen so that I can show people the website, right?
Yeah. Okay, can.
Okay. Share Chrome tab, is it? Yep. Let me see. Okay. Okay, so this is my website. So you can basically, this is all the stuff that I do in my training and all that, my programs. But I think I just want to focus on the book itself. So this is where you can buy the book, personality-central.com.sg/book. So here you can purchase the mind reader book over here. You can just get it now. I will get it shipped to you. Yeah. So you can just buy the book here, okay, the mind reader, if you are interested to learn more about different types and how do you read people quickly. Yeah. All right.
Okay.
So yeah, that's it. So how do I unshare the screen?
Okay, I'll bring it out.
Okay, done.
Okay. All right. So Jonathan is asking while Shirlene is coming in. So Jonathan is asking, what's ENFJ like?
What is ENFJ like? What is ENFJ like? There are many things I can tell you about ENFJ. ENFJ is, of course, the name suggests extrovert, intuition, feeling, judging, extroverted. So ENFJs are actually very strong people, very strong types of personality. They are often leaders. In the corporate world, they tend to do very well because they are very, they can be very strong personalities, but yet they are very compassionate at the same time. They are very compassionate for people. They embrace people. They embrace people. They are very caring at the same time, while being sometimes a bit very perfectionist. So they have both sides. They have both this people-orientedness where they care for people. They are very concerned for people, but at the same time, they are also very headstrong about wanting perfection. So this is interesting. The ENFJ is interesting in the sense that they both have both in a very high degree, right? Both the people orientation and also the task orientation. So they can be idealistic, very strong idealistic, and they like to implement idealistic things like perhaps humanitarian missions, visions. They like to implement this kind of things. They often have this side of them that wants to help the world and wants to impact the world as well. So they can be very giving. Yeah. Okay.
So if let's say, maybe just to add on to that question, so right, how would you trigger or tilt someone that was an ENFJ?
There are many ways to trigger ENFJs.
I'm just sharing that in case I don't know who this ENFJ is, Jonathan, but in case it's someone close to you, you just want to avoid triggering this person. I don't know.
Okay, let me talk about how to avoid triggering them rather than triggering them. Okay, how to avoid triggering them is that number one, you have to understand what their ideals are, what their values are, and be careful not to violate those values. Maybe they care for the environment, they care for women's rights, they care for the minority rights. So you have to be very careful about what you say in front of them, especially when you talk about the people who are downtrodden. ENFJs don't like others to put down the downtrodden. You know, they're more compassionate, and also, of course, when it comes to work-wise, they like things to be done well. And of course, they often like to. Have a perfectionist nature, so they like to take things to do themselves because they are very afraid that somebody would do it, and do it not up to their standard, and then they find it very difficult to just communicate to them, so you didn't do a good job. Because ENFJs they are harmony seeking also, so they don't like to tell you that you're not doing a good job. They just take all the job for themselves. So as much as possible, ask them like, how can I do a better job? What aspect of this do you feel is not good enough? And make sure you do your job on time. Finish it on time, get your job done as much as possible. Of course, sometimes it's not possible because the energies can be quite perfectionist, but as much as possible, do your job on time, follow the schedule, and ask them about their expectations. That will help you connect with them. Okay.
Okay, yeah. Thanks for that question, Jonathan, and thanks for Ethan for answering that. So yeah, I think Sherlyn just wanted a question, not to come on screen. So question was, okay, I think we all meet some people that we label fake. Are there any red flags to spot them? And from your experience, how much time do you take to realize that fakeness?
Okay, Sherlyn, number one. Sherlyn, I can tell her type already. She's the healer type. Looking at the picture, she feels like the healer type. She's a writer, is it? Do you know her?
She does ID, interior design.
Yeah, idea. She's a designer. I knew it. So, so she does design work, and so she's somebody who values authenticity. Yeah. So somebody being real to her, and so she's somebody, whether she's working or at home, she likes to wear the same face, and she likes to be herself and likes to be genuine in the way that she comes. She's often, of course, she often has a good vision. These type of people often make very unique designs. They don't like to follow convention. They like to create and innovate new designs, even for the house and all that. So they often, she's an artist, so sometimes she does criticize herself a lot about the way she does things. She always thinks she's not good enough. Something might think I'm not sure, might think that she might not be good enough in that certain things. So sure, she might keep having this perfectionist thing that I know it's not good enough. I'm going to try again. So that's her. So the question she asked, it's probably in her workplace, probably due to her workplace. And the workplace, they are likely people, they are the night types, the SJ types of people who often have a professional front. Night types often have a professional front and a personal front. So these types of people are the people who follow rules and follow social norms, the night types. The people that I believe she's labeling as fake.
Okay, do you mind if before we get into go further, right? Can you share a little bit about the different personality, the types that you're describing?
Okay, we have the knights, explorers, healers, and wizards. So knights are what I'm talking about right now. Healers, explorers are the Donald Trump types, extroverted ones at least. Then the healers are Sherilyn's type, and even Hitler's type as well. Wizards are your type, and the Elon Musk type, the Mark Zuckerberg type. So hopefully that gives you an idea. So what the person she's talking about right now is usually the night types. Night types tend to follow social norms, including norms of behavior. So when it comes to work, they have a work face. When it comes to play, they have a play face. It's not that they're fake, right? It's not that they're fake. It's just that they think that the most appropriate thing to do is to adhere to the norm. If this is the norm of communication, I will communicate like that because that is the way it should be, right? And then at home, there will be a certain way, a certain behavior, because they believe that certain behaviors are accepted at the workplace and so at home, so they are different. So which is why Sherlyn might feel that they are fake, but they are not really fake lah. It's just from a healer perspective, Sherlyn perspective, that they are not authentic. They are not one face for all, you know. So I would think like that. That will help you understand that because when we call somebody fake, we immediately judge them. We immediately decide that they are not as good as us, or they are not as good as. But that's just our criteria of judging, right? So that's what I could say.
Okay. Thanks for that answer. So I hope that helps you, Sherlyn. And then this is Jonathan's. Yes, thanks for answering and interesting insights. So yeah, so appreciate that for your question. So if any of you have any more questions, please feel free to ask. We still have a couple more minutes. But before that, I think we were just talking a little bit about how can people actually reach you, bro. So earlier you were showing about your website, personalitiescentral.com.sg. Right. So if anybody wants to find out more about Ethan, and he does have courses, he does have books, he does have a lot of material about how you can find out about your personality type. So do hit on to his website, personality-central.com.sg. So you can go there, head on there, and just check out all the materials he's got available. And is there anything else that you, in terms of you want to share about what's different about you compared to all of the other tools that's available out there?
About it, what's different? I don't even look at my competitors or people around me, so I don't know what's different. So I mean, I personally, I don't subscribe to looking left and right. I just do the best I can. Sometimes you look at other people, you either feel envious or you feel that you're better than them. I think either of these emotions are not very helpful. Yeah, whether you feel inferior or superior, I think neither of these emotions or these feelings are good. So I know it's like counterintuitive when it comes to business, like you don't know what your competitors are doing, but it's okay lah. I just want to do my best, and every time I do it, I just focus on what I can say the best I can. So I think that's how I think lah. I think looking around only makes me feel FOMO, me feel lousy. What's the point? So yeah. So if you have any more questions, I would love to answer a few more. I mean, before we close.
Well, we've just hit the hour mark, so we have Kenny says to keep going. So Kenny, yeah, thank you so much, Kenny. So if you happen to have any question, please feel free to ask so we can keep going, because we've just hit the 1 hour mark, and this thing is actually I just usually want to keep it to within an hour. So if you happen to have any questions, again, please feel free to ask, because I have a vibe right now. Ethan feels like he wants to answer stuff. So if there's any questions, feel free to put them on screen, or rather put them on the comments so that I can show it up on the screen. Right. So while the questions are going on, so I don't like to leave the air hanging on for too long. I like to just fill it with random words. So maybe another question I have when it comes to for your profiling business itself, what made you want to do this though? Because when it comes to, there's so many things that we can do. What made you want to do personality profiling as a business?
It's foolishness. About 2012, I stumbled upon personality types, and I was very fascinated by it. But I'm sure many people are fascinated by it when they first discovered type as well. So I remember I was in an office and just reading up all the profiles, learning about the INFP, the ITNTP, reading all these letters and all that, and trying to figure out which type I was. And then at that moment, I decided, what? Let me make this a business and make money out of this passion. Bad idea. Don't ever start a business like that, right? But so that's how I ended up here as well. So I started out building my website, not the .sg website. I started building a .com website. The .com website was a site all about personality type. So I started to just build a website, and it was about 2014 when I came out from my business. Coming out from my job, that I decided that I wanted to start this as a business, as a training business. It started off really difficult. That's why I say it's not a good idea to start with like, oh, it's great, I like this thing, let me make a business out of it. Looking back, it's quite foolish, but I think it's okay now that I've got through it. I suppose it got me somewhere. So now I can go when I go to companies with this concept. I remember one head of training from AIA just told me, "You don't have to sell anymore. I like the idea. I love it. It sells itself." Yeah, So I think that's the advantage when you create something unique in the market. I don't look left or right what people are doing. I just create something because I think it's great. And sometimes people think, "Wow, this is very unique. I like it." Sometimes people cannot. Sometimes the disadvantage, some people cannot put into like their frame like what exactly is this thing that I'm teaching. Yeah.
Okay. So so there's no other questions. I think Kenny has actually replied for a question. So if there's no other question, guys, thank you for all the people who have stuck around for this whole an hour. We have and then thank you so much for all the likes and subscribe. I don't think there's a subscribe any button anyway. So thanks so much for the likes. Thanks so much for all the comments, guys. So if you like it, please give a like, thumbs up, or give a heart, or whatever is there available on Facebook, or whatever this place is on. So but anyway, thank you so much once again for my friend here, Ethan Ling Ihan, right, from personality-central.com.sg, for joining us for this conversation about how to use personality profiling and how to persuade people. So if you want to find out more, please go to his website, check him out. So he has a lot of material. He has done this for quite a while, and he says foolishness, but I would say it's maybe he went down the right rabbit hole to actually to create something like this. All right. So without further ado, thank you so much for joining us. And then if anyone's any questions, just feel free to leave them in the comments even after this whole show, because I think Ihan can actually still reply to them after the whole show. right? So that's all we have. Thank you so much, guys. So for now, we'll say bye bye. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.